All right, we're back, folks. This is the Ross Report. You got in the right place. You downloaded the right show. I want to welcome my buddy, my friend, and a WWE Hall of Famer, Stone Cold Steve Austin, to the program. Hello, Steve.
Hello to the greatest broadcaster in the history of the pro wrestling business, soon to be the greatest podcaster in the history of the podcast business. I'm kicking it over here in Los Angeles, California, Jim. I'm proud to be your first guest. Welcome to the world of podcasting. I know you'll love it.
I am going to be the potentate of podcast. And by God, I'm not going to stop until I make it, because it beats putting up the ring like I did when I first got in this business. And hauling wrestlers around that farted in my car. Boy, have I got some questions lined up for you, mister. You would think that I was deposing your ass for big money. I mean, these are serious mainline news questions.
Or you might have should have been a damn lawyer.
Yeah, well, I won't go there. They're good people. Most of them, some of them.
Okay, most of them.
Hey,
I know a couple that are decent people.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them that ain't.
I know the battling barrister is in Pittsburgh. Jerry McDivitt.
Oh, yeah.
He's got as good a lawyer as there is in America.
Old Jerry. Nice guy.
If I did anything bad, I want Jerry McDivitt in my corner. Back in the day, we had, you were involved in some Undertaker programs. Two really strong personalities, two really respected guys. I love calling your matches, but I'm not so sure that I loved all of the matches you had with The Undertaker. Am I just looking at that through, I had great expectations for those matches, and I wasn't sure exactly what they were going to be. I was thinking of Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody, like beat the hell out of each other type thing. I don't know. But am I off base on that? Were your matches with The Undertaker all of what you wanted them to be, or like everything else, would it have been? Well, they could have been a little better.
No, let me go. I know where you're going, and I understand. No, I never thought any of the matches that we had were the greatest in the world. And Jesus, I got the most respect for The Undertaker. Love that guy to death. Barely know him. Just travel with him. Just travel around the same territory for years and years. But I think because you had a guy that was 6'10", 6'11", 300 pounds, and he was a dead man. And then on the other side of that, you had a mighty tough ass, in the black trunk and bald head and goatee. And I think it was more like a chemistry thing there. And no one was going to feel sorry for either one of us. You wasn't a sympathy type babyface and just two tough guys in the ring. And I think maybe we tried to overthink things and should have made it just more of a brutal slugfest. But those matches could have definitely been better. Now, the one that I had in the garden with him, when he went down for a backdrop and I kicked him and he brought his head up and that caught me under the chin. That was the first time I'd ever been knocked out in my life. I went down to Madison Square Garden and I'm laying there and there's Earl Hebner looking down at me. I looked up at Earl. I said, "Where am I?" He goes, "Damn boy, you in the garden." And so I was able to finish the match, but I don't remember the rest of the match. But me and Undertaker used to have a blast in tag team matches, working for the same purpose,
right,
and tagging in and out.
Yeah, different deal.
I think we were very much in the same vein, but too similar. Although not similar in looks or appearance or gimmick. I think we were wired the same, and it didn't make for the greatest flow of a match.
Well, with that said, how would your matches, if they had come to fruition, how would programs then with Goldberg and or Lesnar over the long haul? Like, let's say you had 1 year at WrestleMania, it was going to be Stone Cold and Goldberg. 1 year at WrestleMania, the next year, let's say, or whatever, was with Lesnar. So you had that year slow burn, heat it up, then ignite it right after the summer at the Royal Rumble, and then roar it through the WrestleMania, the old system, which is good. And how would you have the same match with Goldberg and Lesnar as you did with Undertaker? With the same styles? Would you think?
No. It would have been completely different. I think with Brock, I think we could have wrestled and actually, worked more spots into it and wrestled more actually. And, after I got dropped on my head, I turned into more of a brawler, but I could have wrestled with Brock and turned it into a brawl. With Goldberg, just put over his extreme power and explosiveness. Bill Goldberg, both those guys are two of the strongest guys that were ever been in the squared circle before. And this is only speculation, Jim, because those matches never happened.
Right.
But that would be how I would anticipate things. And then also, with those two guys, I'm definitely the guy calling the shots. And then the Undertaker's kind of a little bit of a 50-50 type deal, because he was his guy, I was my guy. And so, there was a little bit of that going on, I think.
Yeah. With
the Goldberg or Brock Lesnar. Now, I'm talking and, end of story, and that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so I think that dynamic would lend itself to, a little bit better flow.
I don't think those guys have a problem with that. You want one guy calling the plays. I can see the conflict there because Undertaker's got his playbook, you got your playbook,
yes.
And you won.
We both had different playbooks.
And you both have won, i.e. you both made money in those playbooks. Quite frankly. What's your memories of WrestleMania 19? We're in Seattle, and it was a hell of a calamity of a weekend. And for whatever reason, I can't even remember the reason. Maybe you can tell us. Maybe you remember. We kept your retirement match a secret.
Yeah.
And that was also, there may be a great reason, and I'm sure you're getting ready to tell us, but if there ain't a great reason, you're in Oklahoma again, if there ain't a great reason, then what a missed opportunity somewhere to have that last match.
I'll tell you what it was, Jim. Here's the reason I was thinking, because, Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to step down and retire at that match. My neck, my issues with my nerves, were really starting to creep up on me. And, I'd been pulling that wagon for a long time. Now when I took that year off, and, Rock and Triple H had two breakout years, and, both of the guys had been on their way up anyway. Both are tremendous talents, but in my absence had, trademark years. And, just some of the people on the internet say, well, that was the greatest year in the history of the business as far as what the company, earned with me out of the picture. No. I had helped carry that wagon to that spot, and then it continued. So you can't leave Stone Cold out of that equation.
You mean the internet's wrong? You mean the internet's wrong?
What?
You mean the internet's wrong?
Well, if they don't think that I had a hell of a part to do with that, then they don't know what they're talking about. But anyway, to go back to what you're saying.
Yeah.
In my conversations with Vince, I mean, it was, I needed to get out of Dodge. My neck was bothering me. I put myself in harm's way. There wasn't a great future for me to continue beating my neck and my body up like that. But it was not going to be a great move for WWE, for Stone Cold Steve Austin to say, I announce my retirement now at WrestleMania 19 and just kind of, stop all the momentum that, the company had garnered through all the years of their hard work, with everybody else, with DX, Triple H, and Rock, but me just saying, that's my retirement match and leave. So I think it was that. And that, I gotta say it, the biggest star at the time just steps down after WrestleMania 19. Hey, he's gonna throw things into a quagmire, stop our ratings, blah, blah, blah. I think that might have had something to do with it. It wasn't like it was a long-winded discussion with myself and Vince, but also, I didn't want to retire. I was forced to retire. So, it's kind of just a deal we kept on the down low, for the reasons I just stated, and that's what I believe to be why we kept it like that.
Do you think that if the company had not been publicly traded, that information might have been more forthcoming?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I had told Vince, this is a story I don't think I've ever really told you many people. I was kind of running hard a few years before then, and my knees were bothering me. My whole damn body's beat to shreds, but I feel pretty good right now. I told Vince, I said, he was making plans, they was fixed to take the company public. And I said, Vince, I think I'm about, ready to retire. I think I'm going to get out of here, pretty quick. And he goes, Steve, what are you talking about? I'm fixing to do my IPO, what do they call that? The initial public offering. Is that what it is?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's fixing to go do his IPO. He goes, Steve, that's going to kill my IPO if you retire. He says, where are you staying tonight? I mentioned the hotel. And does you mind if I come by and see you later? So yeah, come on by. So man, he came to my hotel after the show. It was Monday Night Raw, and we had a couple drinks. And he said, man, he goes, if you leave, this is going to kill my offering. And I said, hell, man, I said, Vince, I just feel like hell. I'm ready to get off riding to the sunset. He goes, can you give me another couple of years? And at the time, I just wanted to go deer hunting, man. It was deer season. And I said, yeah, man. I said, I'll hang on for another couple of years for you. I just want to go deer hunting. And so I went hunting in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and you and your wife joined me on that trip.
Yeah.
And so we went deer hunting. But that I'd mentioned getting out of the business a couple of years earlier than I actually got out of the business, and they was just due to my niece.
Yeah, we did some vignettes there at that hunting lodge, as I recall, because I remember flying in there to that. Was that near Grand Rapids?
It was Cedar Rapids, Grand Rapids. It was something, East Lansing. It was wherever. It was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it was, I think the last guy I've been there was, with a hat was Ted Nugent or somebody.
Yeah.
Because it was way the hell out there. So my point is, I guess that, you never stop promoting. You never stop. I want people to come to my one-man shows. I want them to buy the barbecue sauce. You promote. And you can't turn that motor off, the entrepreneurial motor, where you say, gosh, dang it, man, the merchandise for that Austin retirement match and the DVDs and the monetizing this and, all this pay-per-view revenue or what it would do for the network. As an old promoter, you say, gosh, dang it, I wish we could have taken advantage of that opportunity, but it just never did. Did you ever get close where it's like, well, let me think about it today. I'll let you know tomorrow about coming back to doing one last WrestleMania? Did you ever get close in that decision in the last 3 or 4 years?
Nah, not really close. If I go back, each year would have been a little bit closer, because, it was less time out of the ring. But, at this pace, with what's going on and where I'm heading and not being in the ring for so long, you're really looking at too long of a time commitment to, get ready for a match like that. And again, just like I told, Chris Jericho a couple of months ago, it took me, 3 years to get the business out of my system, going through withdrawals, man. I hated life. I had fun and I wasn't miserable and I wasn't crying all day, but man, I love pro wrestling. I love being on the road. That's what I wanted to do with my life. And I had to give it up. It took me a long time to get over that. I'm over that now. I'm a happy camper, but I don't want to get all worked up, get back in the damn ring and then come down from that again. Even though I would know, hey, this is a one-time gig, just get in shape and go do it.
Right.
It's not my cup of tea.
Right. People don't understand. Everybody's wired differently. There's a lot of guys that we know that we travel with and we've sat in dressing rooms with that if they were offered a lot less payday than you would get to come back and do that one more match, they'd do it in a heartbeat. Absolutely in a heartbeat without even thinking about who they're working with or when or anything, their body, that bad hip or whatever, their neck, whatever the case is. Cause unfortunately a lot of guys don't have the financial security and they need that one more payday. And it's a damn shame, quite frankly. But nonetheless.
So Jim, but I'm an all or nothing guy, man. I'm either full on or full off. There's not a whole lot of middle ground for me. So I'd have to go full bore, get back in that thing. And if anybody asks me, hey Steve, would you rather have more money or less money? I'm going to tell you I want more money. I think most people would make that same decision. So I can make a payday, but if that match did not live up to my expectations, I'm not talking about the fans because there'd be many fans out there that would just love to see me in the ring doing my thing and they would love that. But for me, selfishly, if I go out there with anything less than an A1 effort, A+ performance, it would be considered a failure. I can't go out there and have a B+ match. It's got to be A+. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So I set the bar extremely high for myself, and I look back at some of my stuff and I cringe. But if you're talking about just doing one comeback match or a one-off, if that son of a buck ain't the best match in the world, then I would consider it a failure. And I don't know if I want to set myself up to that because I think I could probably be 95% of what I was. In my opinion, and this is me, 95% of Stone Cold is not enough. That guy was 120%.
Wow. Yeah. Well, hey, there's a lot of guys we both know if they could guarantee if we could guarantee them that they would be 95% of what they used to be, they'd take it in a heartbeat.
Well, and you know, that's the cool thing about, you know, life and business and wrestling and whatever. You know, everybody has their own ideas of what's acceptable. Everybody has their own levels or standards of what's cool for them. Me personally, I hope I'm alive for another 30, 35, 40 years. I don't want to go back and regret anything. I've got a few regrets in my life. Walking away from the company was one of them. Going back and having a potential stinker would be the biggest one of all. And
wow.
So I just soon let my legacy be what it was. And I had a damn blast doing it. And I want to be engaged and do a few things in the future, but not in that capacity.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't know what else you could prove. You had great matches with some guys. You helped put some guys on the map, which is always great to look back on your career and say, you know, I helped this guy and what the business should be built about anyway. Let me ask you this question. Do you have any regrets, career-wise, from not having a program of significance with Hogan?
Yeah, you know what? The thing about never having to run with Hogan, gosh, man, I was running so hard back then, hard-headed as hell. You know, the word on the street that, you know, he wasn't never going to do any favors for anybody. I damn sure wasn't going to do any favors for anybody who wasn't going to favor back, if you know what I'm saying. And it's funny, when you listen to professional athletes talk about each other, you know, two basketball players, they'll rarely put another guy over. They'll talk in a complimentary tone, but they won't give that guy too much credit. Same thing was going on, I would think. And from me, but you'd have to ask Hulk Hogan this question to get his opinion. But hey, I recognize everything that guy did, but I also recognize everything that I did. And I know how I like to work and how I like to fly in the ring and do my business. And I just he was open to having a match.
I thought so.
Me, not so much. I thought the styles would clash. I didn't think it'd be that great of a match. And this is me outworking me. You know, I love the money that I made in the wrestling business, but I won't do a high profile match just to get a good payoff, because I'd love to have the money, but it ain't about the money. It's about the match and the program. And if I'm not going to enjoy it, I'm not going to do it. And I guarantee you, you know, if my head would have been in a little bit different place and, I wasn't as, competitive or hard-headed as I had been, then, you know, by all rights, a program should have happened. But again, I think that was, you know, and me physically and mentally where I was at, I could go. I think Hogan would have probably been a step or two behind that. That wasn't acceptable to me. And I didn't want to slow myself down. And I say that with all due respect to Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea, because the guy had a hellacious run.
You know,
that was my thought process back in the day.
I think, Steve, quite honestly, whether it's a one-off or, and if I had been, picking up the pencil and was going to, you know, pencil in the match and book an angle, it'd be a one-off, one time. I don't need to go to the well and see if we can get two out of something that we're lucky to get the one out of.
Okay, and then let's go to the finish room.
Yeah, that's easy.
It's easy for you and me.
Well, see, yeah, he gets a stunner. You're staying. He's leaving. You give him a hug or shake his hand like a man when it's over, and he's as whole as he could be if you chose to do that. Or you do it the next night on Raw when all of a sudden, you know, he maybe somewhere down the road, it's you and him in a tag match. I'm just looking at, I don't see why it would be hard to do business. You wouldn't have that 30-minute knockdown, drag-out athletic match like you had the 3 times at WrestleMania with Rock, because he was an athletic son of a gun.
Right.
You know, Terry.
That's kind of where my head was at, though, in having those kind of matches. I didn't think we could deliver at that level. And when you go to what him and Rock did at WrestleMania 18,
right?
Oh, they did nothing.
No.
They had the people in the palm of their hands. It's one of the most electric crowds that I'd ever seen, and everything they did got the best response possible. It was an unbelievable matchup. So they did it without really doing anything, and everything they did meant so much.
Yeah.
I'd take my hat off
You could
to
have
those two guys for the match that they put on that night.
Yeah, that was awesome. And it stole the show because everybody thought it was going to be good, but nobody thought it was going to be a lifetime memory. If you were in the building,
Never forget it.
In Toronto, and Lawler and I were lucky as hell because we were at ringside getting to call the match. That's a lifetime memory. And so it was really cool stuff. Hey, look, I got we're out of time, I'm told, here for this time. We will do this again very soon, but I really want to thank you for taking the time to be here on this show. And I've enjoyed the questions. I got so many more that I'm just curious about. So maybe we can do that at another time.
Hey, man, whatever fits your schedule. I appreciate being the first guy on your show. I tell you what, I got a couple friends that are my true friends and that have been real good for me and good to me. And, man, I tell you what, when I was laying there getting my neck cut on and I woke up after a C3-4 fusion and see you sitting across the damn room, sitting in a chair, I think about that all the time. So I'm glad I could be your first guest. I think you're going to have a blast with the podcasting business. I think the people that tune into this show are going to get a unique perspective of really something that only you, a guy with a lifetime in the business who worked with so many of the greatest wrestling minds in the history of pro wrestling / sports entertainment. I wish you all the best luck in the world with the show, and I'm back whenever you want me on.
All right, buddy. I appreciate you, and appreciate everybody tuning in. See you later, everybody. It is so wonderful to not only have Stone Cold Steve Austin here with us, ladies and gentlemen. He was on our very first show. It's so wonderful to be here in our highly technical studio here in rural Oklahoma. Steve, how you doing?
Oh, another day at Dolphins down here in Los Angeles, California. The weather was kind of it's kind of gray. It got a marine layer hanging over my part of the neighborhood in Los Angeles. So I love it when it's like this. I'm having a great day. Hershey the Wonder Dog is sleeping right next to me, and I'm drinking a cup of coffee, ready to open up a can on your show.
Audio whip ass. That's what you do.
There you go, brother.
Steve's on podcast one every Tuesday and Thursday. He has 2 shows drop a week. So us here on the Ross Report, we do this thing every Wednesday. So that's our story, and we're sticking to it. We had Steve on our very first show, as I mentioned, and we just talked about a lot of stuff that was really WrestleMania oriented. It didn't start out to really be intended to be a WrestleMania show, but we had a WrestleMania theme. And to finish, I want to finish the WrestleMania thing with a couple questions, and I got this list here. Where does the WrestleMania 13 with you and Bret, that would be Bret Hart for you newcomers, where does that match rank in your, top whatever of WrestleMania matches? Is it top 5? Is it top 3? You
talking about WrestleMania in general or my WrestleMania matches?
Your match, your opponents, where did your match with Bret rank with the other guys that you work with at other WrestleManias?
Oh, man, I tell you what, I had some clashes with The Rock, and that guy was just, they call him the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. And for some reason, The Rock and I just clicked on every single cylinder. I was good for him, and he was good for me. But when you talk about Bret Hart, WrestleMania 13, you talk about how important that match was for my career, also executing the double turn in the business, high-profile match on the biggest stage in a semi-main match, which blew the main out of the water with all due respect to those two cats.
Yeah.
Man, that you can't beat WrestleMania 13. That iconic image of Stone Cold passing out in the pool of blood with the sharpshooter. It was just 2 guys who went out there, and we thought we were going to stink the joint out. I'm not a submission wrestler. I only knew about 3 damn holds, and it was a kick in the gut and a drop, stunner.
Yeah.
So, we went out there, and I, man, at that time, I owned Chicago. Chicago was my town. It's my favorite town to work in. And I tell you what, it was a special night, and everything worked.
It did.
WrestleMania 13, Bret the Hitman Hart, one of the greatest of all time, and that match right there specifically, probably the greatest match I ever had.
Really, I kept thinking, I I've called most of Steve's matches, over the years. I had a couple of interruptions in service when I was sick with the Bell's palsy a couple of times, and I don't think I was ever future endeavored while you were there. I don't believe.
I couldn't remember. I mean, hell, they damn WWE aspired just as damn many times.
Yeah,
didn't know what was going on.
There you go. I don't either. I don't know. I didn't know then. I didn't know when I was there what was going on. So just ask anybody I work with. They'll tell you. The match, I thought the match with Bret, considering where it propelled you, considering that he really, there's a torch passing right there. Now we talked the last time about the fact that neither of us wanted to see the Undertaker lose at WrestleMania. That was not the torch to be passed. The Bret Hart going to the villain side and leaving the all-Canadian guy side, that was big business. Because he was as popular as anybody in the territory. And he's going to become a heel. And then you have been a heel. And the double turn worked like magic, but man, it really puts you in that left lane where you could drive as fast as you wanted, because that was the break, it seemed to me like.
Yeah, and that was the break. Still a lot of work to be done on the backside of that and propel me forward. But that was certainly a key moment. And, Bret Hart gave it his all that match. He really brought his A game, which, seemingly every time I saw Bret Hart in a squared circle, he gave it everything he got. One of my most favorite competitors to work against or with. And just in general, as far as a body of work, Bret Hart is in my top three of just, if I can only watch Bret Hart matches, I'm fine with that, because I like the story that he told.
Yeah.
I like his style and his execution, his flow, everything that he did worked for me.
Yeah, he understood. He got it. And he told great stories. And, he had to fight. Last time we talked, I asked you, hey, if you were the WWE booker of the territory, eyebrows up here, tongue in cheek, but seriously about the booking, would you have a problem making Daniel Bryan the WWE World Champion? You said no. Well, Bret Hart is a lot bigger than Daniel Bryan. And Bret Hart at one time was considered, he and Shawn Michaels both, too small for the top title. And I think one of the smartest things that WWE ever did strategically was to downsize a little bit and get guys like Shawn and Bret as the focal point of the promotion, because it changed the dynamic and the perception of the WWE, in my opinion, when those two guys were champions.
Well, you also got to look at it like this. I mean, back in the day, when they first started, letting Bret run with that belt, and then Shawn, they were small guys, but that was because the top guys were all 300 plus pounds. Almost the entire roster was 300 pounders, right?
Right. Yeah.
We look at all the big bodies. So
too
big. All of a sudden, those guys got their break, and all of a sudden, it was a win-win for the fans, because it was great to see the big guys do their thing, and everybody wants to see the heavyweights clash. But when it comes down to watching a hellacious back and forth match, that's going to go down to, those middle-sized guys, a size category that I would put myself in: Ric Flair, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels,
right?
Kurt Hennig, Randy Savage. I mean, you can keep going on and on with those kind of guys. The Rock, you can go out there and deliver that match back and forth, pacing, pro style, but with bursts and exclamation points, and not just that one speed type stuff.
Well, I always thought that and speaking of what you're talking about, that, the real smart bookers would protect guys that, let's say you brought a Kevin Nash into the territory. Well, you wouldn't have 3 or 4 more 7-footers in the territory. You just wouldn't do it.
No,
it was,
no, you would no. If you had one more 7-footer, maybe you'd make them a tag team, or you'd feud them together, and then that'd be it. Yeah, he's got to be special.
Yeah, and it just that's just the way that it's a matter. It's not being. It has nothing to do with prejudice for somebody that's listening. It has everything to do with casting, because you're talking about casting a entertainment program, a TV show that is an entertainment entity So, yeah, we do the old-time guys, and I still do it. I still think of it this way. Well, they booked it, you know. But bookers were they were casting agents. They were producers. They were directors. They were writers. They did all those things. So all it was the casting, in my humble opinion. And it was cast different. All of a sudden, the premium went on the guys that could really get it on. You know, you hear so much. I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about, before I came to WWE, the most famous match that guys in the locker room would talk about in WWE annals was Steamboat and Savage at WrestleMania 3. The boys weren't overly impressed with anything else. Now, they didn't hate everything, and they were glad guys were making money, and they wish they were on Hogan's cards, because if you were on Hogan's cards, you made more money on your payoff because he sold more tickets. That was a gimme. But as far as the working in the ring and that great performance, there was one match that really stood out, and that was Steamboat and Savage. And then all of a sudden in WWE around the mid-90s and moving forward to 2000, all of a sudden that whole work rate picked up, where you didn't see that great match every now and then. You saw it on a regular basis.
Yeah, but it also helps. I mean, like when you talk about the Savage Steamboat match, you know, if those had been two unknowns that would have went out there and had that match, it'd have been a great mechanical match.
It'd been a great second or third match.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a great match. But the fact that it was Savage and Steamboat who were over.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was that match and those were the two guys in it, the fact that they were over to the degree that they were, you know, that just made it, you know, one of the best all-time matches, you know, in the history of the business. So, you know, it was funny because back in the days in the old dirt sheets, and everybody started talking about work rate. Yeah, work rate is fine if it means something. If it just means you're a buzzsaw out there doing a bunch of stuff in the ring and not gauging accordingly or listening to the crowd, you're trying to listen to response. It's not just action for the sake of action. Everything still has to mean something.
I used to tell people, Steve had a unique ability to tell you what he did not like. And sometimes he couldn't tell you for sure why he didn't like it. And more often than not, he didn't have a concrete solution, but his instincts told him, this ain't right for me. And is that fairly accurate?
Yeah, you know, one time someone said Triple H buried me in an interview when I'd show up to Creative or show up to Monday Night Raw, and I'd just say, well, I don't like that. That ain't worth a damn. I ain't going to do it. And people thought he was knocking me. He wasn't knocking me. That was the truth. And I jazzed it up with a little bit more salt and pepper on the language. I was very vocal about, no, I was not going to do that because it sucked. And I didn't have an alternative plan. And that's the thing when you're dealing with, you know, any kind of problem, but specifically with Vince McMahon. If you don't like anything, it's okay to shoot something done, but have an alternate plan that you're willing to offer up to help solve the problem at hand. And so we can get into Monday Night Raw. So many times, man, I'd show up and say, no, I ain't doing that. And they could look in my eyes and they knew that they weren't going to talk me into doing anything I didn't want to do. So that's just the way it was.
Where is the original Smoking Skull belt?
In my safe.
Oh, so you got it?
I got it.
That damn guy.
I got the Intercontinental belt, that I won back from Owen the night I got dropped on my head there in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Yeah. I got the old Winged Eagle belt that Sean had. I won from him at 14 with the broken side off of it there in the safe. I've got a couple of those things. Got the old World Television title from WCW.
Really?
In my safe. Oh yeah, I've got a safe here, Fort Knox safe, best safe in the world. It's full of championship belts. That's
pretty cool. That is very cool. Hey, you know, it's funny how the TV title used to really mean something in some promotions, isn't it?
It is.
The TV title down south was kind of the equivalent to the Intercontinental title in WWF at the time. The guy
who's going to yell, somebody can work your ass off.
Yep.
And make somebody look good and hang on to that belt.
Yeah, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I wrote about this the other day in a blog, and I guess it just reinforces that I'm an old fart. But, you know, I don't, because you take away time limits off all matches unless there's a special occasion. So you eliminate all time limits. It reeks of showbiz oozing out of every crack of the ring, because no sporting event that I'm aware of, I'm sure there probably are, has a time limit.
Right.
Some kind, right? I mean, so by doing this, you eliminate a draw. Now, if I told you that hey, Steve, I think that occasionally, me and you let's say we're writing TV, and I say, I think that we can have the occasional draw. Would you think I was crazy?
Oh, yeah, I would.
So you think that people now are so accustomed to even a non-finish that a well
non-finish, DQ, something like that.
Well, all I'm saying is that I don't know, the rules are so lax that what do you got to do to get disqualified? Because
let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to the Royal Rumble where Brock Lesnar came down the ring. Big Show was already there and started shellacking him with the steel chair. Now, back in the old days, they would have sat down 10, 15 refs. Okay, and even before that, Jack Tunney would have come down and restored order, and might have even just called off the match to begin with.
Right.
But anyway, poor Mike Chioda was put in a real tough spot, and I love Mike Chioda. He's a hell of a damn ref. But nobody came down. He's trying to stop Brock Lesnar, and then all of a sudden he just kind of asks Big Show if he's okay. Then he starts the match. It's just, I don't know. I just totally segued off.
It was a
I don't even know what the point.
It was a disconnect. The match was a disconnect, because how do you allow a competitor A with a weapon to beat up competitor B and still have the match?
Yeah.
I miss that, because in the old days, number one, Big Show, who was the fan favorite, would have had allies. Somebody in the back that was a fan favorite, a babyface, would have had enough compassion to come out there and stop this travesty.
You would figure that he had one friend back there.
One friend.
Back in the old days, man, guys would run out and help their brothers out.
Yeah, and
I guess old Big Show has alienated everybody in that dressing room, and it didn't have a friend one back there that's going to come help him out, or they were scared of Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and there wasn't.
And he is a force to reckon with. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. There wasn't an abundance of referees there for that deal either, as I recall. But nonetheless, I just believe this. I believe that two skilled workers can have a 10-minute match with a time limit on television, and occasionally it's a draw, and you're not gonna have an uprising or a revolt.
No, I'm okay with the time limit draw.
So and now we can't have a time limit draw, because why?
Right.
We got no time limits.
Right.
So now you've just taken one of your logical, believable, whether you're a hardcore fan or a casual fan, a logical finish has now been completely eliminated from consideration. And I don't get that. That's like, it doesn't make sense to me. I'm an old guy. I'd like to see you could have a draw. I think you'd have a draw now and then. It's not a bad thing. Let me ask you this question. Back when I remember booking you in live events, when you really started rocking and rolling, and I would get pressured from Vince to put you in tags, because you were so valuable, and everybody's got an expiration date, some sort of DNA on them. We don't know when it is exactly. We just hope we can guess good and stay ahead of the curve. But everybody's got an expiration date. So he wanted me to book you in tags a lot on the live events. And I remember doing that. And I don't know, you got a booking sheet at TV, but of course, like half the guys there, you didn't look at it, which is fine. So you get to the town. I remember calling the office, Friday town, and I was still at work probably around 6 or 7 o'clock. And you want to know why you were booked in a tag. And I explained why you're booked in tag, and that, Vince thought it was best for you. Pace yourself. And man, you were hotter than hell. You were mad. And so I said, well, can we get through tonight and let me get a chance to fix it by tomorrow? And you reluctantly did it. I don't even remember who you were teaming with. It might have been Taker. I don't know. Could have been. I don't know who it was. It was another top guy. It wasn't like it wasn't you and Howard Finkel against Harvey Whippleman and, Sid Vicious. It was a top guy. But what was your issue about the not liking the tags? Because people are going to say, well, God, Steve and Brian Pillman were a great team as the Hollywood Blondes. I've always said, well, it's a different place, a different time.
Well, you're right. It was a different place at a different time. And, that's one of the big problems I had with tag team wrestling, because, if you're getting pushed as a tag and your partner goes down, he blows his knee out, man, there you go. Now you're on your own. You've invested all this time together to build that team up. Now you kind of, that's not a good situation to be in. So I always wanted to be self-reliant, and I loved tagging with Flying Brian Pillman as the Hollywood Blondes. So I loved every minute of that. I was mad when they split us up. So anyway, keep going into the future, back on the singles path, self-reliant, do my own thing. I didn't like tag matches just because, hey, I was a singles wrestler, so I wanted to be booked in singles matches. I understand, the fact that, take a little bit of the workload off of me by, when you get in a tag match, theoretically, you're doing half as much work as you would have, because you've got the other guys in the ring to help you, and for the other guys to do their part and to put in that time and tell that story. But I just, and I'm a fan of watching tag team wrestling.
Me too.
I was a part of some great matches that I loved being in. But when Stone Cold Steve Austin is coming down that ramp, the glass is broken. Here I come to the ring to open up a can of whoop ass. I want to do it by myself with some other cat, one-on-one in the ring with a badass referee.
Well, I'll apologize now for back, I don't remember what year it was.
Well, the logic is sound. And I remember having those conversations with you guys a couple of those times. Yeah. And so, obviously, and hey, man, I was running hard and living hard. So I needed someone to help me take care of myself. I can admit that now.
Yeah, we wanted to do the right thing, but here's the deal: if it was going to cause more stress and more mental angst than it was going to help on the physical side, then we were sending good money after bad. Didn't make any sense. So that's why you stopped being booked in tag matches. And when you were at at the top of the mountain, they got to see Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, I had another. Vince and I had another issue, not an issue, but a philosophical discussion. He said, well, you ought to get Steve on early and get him out of there. Okay. Okay. Well, I knew where that was going to go. You were going to say, I worked my ass off all my life to get here. I've worked hard to get in the main event. The main event goes on last. I'm going to go on last. So I didn't even bring it up. Every now and then I might bring it up just so I can cover myself with Vince. And he said, well, did you talk to Steve about going on early? Yep. He didn't want to. He wanted to go on last. And he was very adamant about it. So I didn't push the issue.
Man, there was a couple of times when I did that, because it was new to me. And I was like, hey, man, I don't know if this is a slap in the face or if it's to help me out. That number 4 spot, and then intermission, then you take a shower and get your ass down the road to the next shot.
Yeah.
If it was double shot or whatever the scenario was, to get on the road traveling. But, man, I tell you what, you live to be in the main event. The main event is at the end of the show. I was talking to Dutch Mantell a while back, and, sometimes the main event would go on number 4 because they had so much heat down there in Puerto Rico. They did it for the safety of the wrestlers to get their ass out of the building.
Yeah.
Because if you went on last, then people were going to wait outside.
They're waiting on you.
Probably try to kill you.
They're waiting on you. Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, from a performance standpoint, everybody in that dressing room wants to be the last guy in that ring. That's the bottom line. Main event.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, hit me with these one or short answers on this word association thing. I'm just going to give you some names, just some different guys. Ricky Steamboat.
One of the greatest of all time, one of my favorite guys to work with, a guy who was instrumental in getting my chops up in WCW. I worked with him 1,000,000 times. Love him.
Great mentor. He was a great. He coached you up there, man. No
Great
doubt.
fire. No, you don't have to tell Ricky nothing. I mean, we're going to do our thing, but he's going to do his thing. You grab Ricky in a headlock, he's going to top wrist lock. You know, he's always had a counter for everything. You didn't have to tell him to do nothing. He could work.
Yeah. Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, the American Dream, one of my favorite promos of all time. Went to high school with my mother, Austin, Texas. Me and his son Dustin, born in the same hospital. The American Dream is one of my favorite pro wrestlers of all time. And I loved what he did. He was a big guy who could work his ass off. Some people say his work wasn't that great. Bull corn. Dusty Rhodes was the most charismatic, great of a worker that was ever in the squared circle. Respect.
He drew money. I'll guarantee you that. He drew money and he could talk. Vince McMahon.
Crazy ass genius. I tell you what, you've been there through half my battles with Vince McMahon, Jim. And, you know, I tell you what, I love that guy. And he gave an opportunity and he listened to me, when I had some ideas and I broke out and then we started feuding. And, out of all the people I've been in the ring with, just at a face-to-face level, he mirrors back exactly what I'm given. Just pure, flat out hatred, energy for a human being in a combative or competitive element. And it's a work, but his intensity is so great. I loved working with Vince McMahon. Now we had our personal issues. At times I hated his guts. At times I hated the stuff that they did on TV when they was ribbing you on the square. And that really pissed me off. But I learned more working with Vince McMahon than I did in 5 years of college. He's the greatest promoter in the history of the business, and I respect the living hell out of him.
Yeah, he is a genius. There's no doubt about it. And, you know, I guarantee he's not Switzerland. He's not neutral. He's, you either love.
No, that dude has guts. Yeah. He's got passion. He's got heart. He's got brains. And he'll go out on a damn limb. You ain't got to push Vince McMahon. He is a leader and not a follower.
Yeah, and I love his swagger. I want to live to be 68, and I want to live when I'm 68 I want to have the same drive. That son of a gun is the hardest working human being. I thought Bill Watts was a hard worker, and he was. He really was. I thought that Ted Turner was an amazing visionary when I knew him, and he was. But I haven't seen anybody come close to the work ethic of Vince McMahon. Now, anybody listen, you don't have to love, you know, I didn't love every one of Walt Disney's movies. Some of the animated movies I thought was a little less than what I need to watch. Now, throw me a good old Davy Crockett out there, a little Yeller, kind of, you know, I'm okay. But McMahon's a Disney. You may not like everything he's done, but you got to look at the theme park and look at this, what he's built, look at that thing he's built. Pretty damn impressive. Well, no one in our business will ever approach McMahon's accomplishments without question.
Man, and look at what Monday Night Raw's done on television. Jesus Christ, the run that show has had. And the thing with my podcast, I do my podcast for the working man.
Yep.
I don't know anybody that works harder than Vince McMahon. So if he's driving around in a $200,000 Bentley and he's got a $20 million mansion there in Greenwich or whatever, that son of a buck earned every penny he's got. Bought the business from his dad,
yep.
Put everybody else out of business, and it was all pure D hard work.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you having me on. I'll catch your ass down the road.
All right, Steve, thanks very much. You're just the best. That's all I can say. Stone Cold Steve Austin, ladies and gentlemen. So until next week, everybody, thank you very much for being with us. Have a wonderful week. Be good to others, and I'll talk to you again here next week on the Ross Report.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what AdFreeShows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-Free Shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that AdFreeShows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. AdFreeShows.com.